Welcome to Sneakers in the Pool, New York's most authentic Seinfeld podcast, where we review every season of Seinfeld except the last two because they were worse than floss flying out of your pocket on a date. If you want to hear about Seinfeld straight from the heart of two Jews from the Upper West Side, then this is the podcast for you. Today we'll be reviewing season 1, episode 4, called Male Unbonding. What do you got? What do you got for me, Tucker?
What up?
How we doing?
I just don't understand how floss coming out of your pocket's a negative thing. That would be, to me, I feel like I would be like, that's something that I would do on purpose to show someone that I floss. It's a good ep.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, I liked it.
I feel like this was the stinker of the... I remember this being like kind of a stinker before I even watched it again, and then it rang true. I mean, listen, it's still season 1 Seinfeld. Like, it's still really fucking good, and it's nice, and it's relaxing, and it's not like overbearing, like yelling and shit like that. Like season 9.
Stinker is a strong word to describe it.
Right. I'm saying, okay, in the context of season 1, it's the stinker of season 1.
Okay.
And actually, this is the second episode filmed, but the 4th aired. And really? I think it was because they wanted to tuck it away towards the end of the season.
Wait, how long is the season?
I think it was a 5-episode season.
Oh, I didn't realize it was so short. Okay.
Yeah, it was a short season. This is the actual first appearance of Elaine, because I always think it's in the video store in the second episode in the stakeout, but this is actually the first appearance of Elaine, just hanging out in the apartment, talking about going to the coffee shop.
You mean in terms of when they recorded it? Because this was the second episode recorded?
Right. This is the second in the chronology.
Okay.
This is Julia Louise's first scene that she filmed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Starts with the stand-up. Jerry's talking about men enjoying, like, fixing things.
Right. It's very like Tim Allen. It's kind of like... he's leaning into his lane a little bit. Plus the same era. And actually, Seinfeld and Home Improvement were always neck and neck in the ratings. It was like the same exact era.
Now, I watched Home Improvement, and I liked it. I'm a little almost embarrassed.
I don't think I laughed once.
I think I had a crush on Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
He's so short, though. Isn't he short?
Shorts never bothered me.
Shortstop doesn't bother you?
No.
Okay. But I feel like one of the reasons Seinfeld was successful was because people were looking for something to watch that didn't have kids in it. That was like didn't have like, like a family element. And Seinfeld really did not. And
it's also like at that in this era, I feel like every sitcom was all about like the formula of having like there had to be a moral, and at the end of the show there had to be violin music and a sappy like ending.
Right. I think it was piano music.
Yeah.
So your episode starts off here with George and Jerry, and they're in Jerry's building. You don't really see this view of the building ever.
No, yeah. I was
hallway
and the elevator.
Yeah. And they're even in the elevator, and George is talking about that he was out with his girlfriend, and,
right.
And you were saying this. You take this as a good sign.
Yeah. How could that be a bad like floss flying out of your pocket? That's like how is that a negative thing?
Well, because for some reason, anytime I see floss and it's not attached to the container, I assume it's been used.
Oh, that's right. He says that it's like a piece of floss. It's not like the floss container.
Oh, you thought it was in the packaging? You thought it was like a container of floss?
So that makes sense that he's embarrassed by that. That's a little weird. So after the floss, so he says the floss falls to the ground. He's like, we both saw it. Then we locked eyes. And then he was like, I was so nervous. I was like, I told her I liked her.
Right. It's interesting. The fanny pack is obviously very intentional. I imagine like for this scene, like maybe you're supposed to like envision that like, he's like a loser or whatever because of that. But then later in the episode, he's wearing like a rugby sweater. It's like a very nice, so it's very Like he would never wear something like that. I feel like season 6.
Actually, that I like made a note about that sweater because I'm pretty sure he wore the same sweater in like the first episode or the second episode. I'm not sure which. He wore this.
Maybe.
This is the second time he's wearing the sweater. I'm fairly certain.
Well, I guess that would be realistic, and I think Larry David like wore the same thing all the time.
I could see Larry David doing that.
It's surprising that George, like, I'm always impressed when an unattractive person has an active dating life. But yeah, so I guess George is kind of like a player at this point.
A player? That's that might be.
Well, he does also later in the episode, he's like, the second worst 4 words in the English language, whose bra is this? Like he's like getting into situations in which like one woman is like over his apartment and somebody for some reason leaves a bra, which is not like an easy thing to leave, I don't think. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Don't forget your bra. Right.
Like a bra is something that I'm pretty sure if you take off, you put on. I don't know. So then they get to Jerry's apartment, right?
Yeah.
Kramer's in there.
Kramer's on the phone.
Right. So if this is the second appearance of Kramer, they're really trying to like establish him as like this sort of like neighbor who's like, oh, which, you know, to let your neighbor be over at your house when you're not there. That's really nice of Jerry. Like he's obviously like a really generous person, or like, because I feel like most people would like get weird about that.
Right. I mean, I think, yeah, it doesn't really exactly align with his character because he wouldn't really go for that based on him being like a finicky person. But obviously it's funny, so they had to make it happen.
Well, I wonder if there was any truth to it, like in terms of Kenny Kramer, you know, like in Larry David, because it was like Larry David's neighbor. Like I wonder if, you know, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like in the 90s, like in like when people were in their 30s, they would like let their neighbors like hang out on their couch.
Yeah,
like,
maybe I can't imagine Larry David like being cool with that.
Well, I mean, think back to like college,
right? At the same time, in like in his prior, like in his early life, maybe, yeah,
right.
He didn't have any money and like live. Yeah, I could see it maybe.
I think that was the situation. I mean, they were like comedians. You know, Larry David drove a cab. I think he did. Larry David actually worked as a bra salesman, I believe.
Are you serious?
For a period of time, yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Really?
Yeah, that's why it was in the show. Lycra spandex. Get out of here, Lycra spandex. So yeah, so Kramer is, you know, kind of establishing his character as like, you know, the guy who would like talk on the phone to like a stranger for like half an hour or whatever. And when he gives Jerry the phone, he does like a really good, that thing when like, that's happened to me. That's been done to me. And I fucking hate that.
This has been done to everybody.
Oh my God. I feel like my mom's done it to me.
My mom is the worst at this. She is the king of this.
It's fucked up because, well, just to clarify, so everybody knows what we're talking about. Just obliquely referenced it. Kramer is passing Jerry the phone and he's just like, here, it's for you. He's like, who is it? He's like, it's for you. Like in his hands of the phone.
Yeah. My mom just loves to just force me on the phone with people. Sometimes I know who I'm about to talk to. Sometimes I don't. But regardless, I'm being forced onto the phone. She's like, oh, yeah, Jesse will talk to you. Here he is.
Oh, right. One of those.
Oh, my God. It's the worst.
Yeah.
There's been maybe once or twice in my life where I've like actually refused to take the phone. And it's so awkward because, you know, the person on the other end can hear you like refusing to take the phone. It's really bad.
Yeah, but that's a fucked up shit. I mean, my mom used to do that to me. Yeah, here he is. Like just hand a cordless phone.
Yeah.
So it's Joel Hornick. Jerry grew up down the street from him. It doesn't say where he grew up, but we all know that he grew up in Long Island or like Queens, but definitely basically Long Island.
Yeah. That phone though that he has with the long antenna. Whatever happened to antenna? Like, How come we don't have antennas that pull out anymore? What happened to that?
I figured you would actually be the person to ask
Yeah,
about
I was
that.
wondering myself.
Well, remember, so yeah, they went from having like the long antenna, the metal antenna, to it was a little nub. There was like a little
The
rubber
nub.
nub. Then it went to
And
a
now we have
nub.
cell phones that don't have any
They
antenna
don't have any
that
nub.
protrudes at all.
There's no nub.
And did you ever notice a difference in the reception
Reception.
when you actually pulled the antenna out?
It's a good question.
I never
It's a
noticed
very good
anything
question.
happen.
I think I might have noticed, but I have a very touch of a memory of pulling the antenna and getting clear signal. Could have been a coincidence, though.
I would love to buy a cell phone that has one of these like 3 feet and retractable antennas.
Could you buy a StarTAC from like 2003 and hook it up to your service somehow? Like you'd have to jailbreak it or whatever. Like, you know, like you'd have to do something fucked up to it. But could you get it so like you could get calls on it or whatever and like maybe send those like really archaic like texts?
I have no clue. Pete, this bothers me. Everybody thinks that so I'm an IT person. I know everything about computers that there is to know.
That wasn't even on computers.
Anything that runs on electricity,
Yeah, right.
I should know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my my pet peeves in life.
It's a peeve.
It's a peeve.
He's got a peeve. Sound the peeve alarm. Yeah, so Jerry and George are talking about Joel. It's a pretty obvious setup. I feel like this was like early in the writing process of like Larry and like Jerry. You know, I mean, they're really like setting it up. There's like kind of like no jokes for like a couple of minutes. And not that I care. I mean, I like that. But it wasn't like I wasn't laughing. Most people want to laugh when they watch Seinfeld. Not me. I'm just a different kind of guy. I consider it a drama.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. It's a tragedy. Is what it is. Actually, no, the season 8 and 9 are a tragedy, though. I'll tell you that. That's a real tragedy. That's the real tragedy.
That's true.
But,
worse than the Holocaust.
I would say too soon, but that's like kind of that's enough time. Fair amount of time. That's the 75-year moratorium.
Yeah. These days it's like 2 weeks, I thought.
Well, depends. Well, these days there's nothing sacred. Nothing
is sacred anymore.
Nothing is sacred. I wonder if we'll tell our kids about a world in which things at one point were sacred.
Yeah.
Like things used to be sacred, you know, and they'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Get away from me. You're not my dad.
I can't envision myself having any kids, but
maybe you'll be one of those like really old dads, you know?
Right. If I become a dad, I'm gonna be a really old dad. I'm gonna adopt a kid at the age of 74. And did you have any friends growing up that had like super old dads? I had a couple.
So the first girl that I was ever in love with had a really old dad, and I had trouble reconciling his oldness with her attractiveness.
Was it her biological father?
Yeah. I was like, how did this old ass guy with like drooping skin? This is like, you know, in like 6th grade, mind you. I remember being like, how did this old guy have such like a hot daughter? Yeah. Plus her mom looked really weird too. So it was really? Like a weird thing. Also, she was attractive, but she didn't look like the daughter at all. It was like a weird amalgamation of different things. Like, but she was really hot. Sneakers in the pool. It's gonna be a real like Jewish tangent, but I had trouble finding a Danish in Brooklyn the other day. I was like, we were driving around, and we were like, I was like, you know, like we had just moved, so like I was like, I needed like it was like the morning, we were running errands, like I needed a little pick me up. And Marie's like, well, why don't you get like a pastry or something, like coffee? I was like, okay, it's a great idea, fantastic idea. And then I was like, you know what? I'll get a Danish because I love Danish, and I like the fact that word can be used in like a weird plural sense.
I love Danish.
I love Danish, which is Ken apparently because Maury from Goodfellas says that at one point. That. And he goes, let's go to that diner up on Queens Boulevard. And just like, yeah, did they have Danish there?
Right. That's the authority on the English language.
A single, like, unimportant scene in a Martin Scorsese movie. So I'm like, I'm gonna get a Danish, beautiful, like a cherry Danish. So I go to this one bagel place, and they had like a huge menu. They had a ton of stuff, but they didn't have any Danish. And I yelped. So we had the car because we were running a bunch of errands. I yelped something, and we went on like Fifth Avenue somewhere. And I waited forever because it's a social distancing. So I had to wait like 6 feet behind the person. And like for some reason she took forever. I guess it would have taken forever without social distancing. I don't know why I even mentioned that. Took forever. It took the same amount of time, but I just had to stand further
it feels
away.
longer because when you're standing 100 feet from the counter outside the establishment, it definitely feels like it.
Yeah, it feels like an uphill battle. Because of my 6 foot back vantage, I couldn't quite see all the pastries. Like I kept on like rubbernecking to try to like see my options. It's like another type of pastry. Ooh, give me a lobster claw and a lobster. Is a lobster claw or a bear claw? Lobster tail.
Lobster, yeah.
Pastry wise.
Desserts?
Like pastries. Yeah, desserts.
Lobster's not involved in any dessert that I know of.
No, it's not actually in it. It's just shaped like a lobster tail. Isn't that a thing?
That's a dessert? You're thinking of a bear claw.
I was confusing bear claw and lobster tail. Those things like
lobster. No one wants to think of anything fishy related to desserts. It
already auto completed, and you're definitely wrong. Google it right now. Look you've had one before. It's called a lobster tail. Look at it.
What? Really?
It's really fucking good. Oh my god.
What?
It's like hot schwuliadel. Oh, it is schwuliadel. That's what a lobster tail is, I guess. It's schwuliadel.
I don't even know what word he's talking.
Hot schwuliadel? You know about my ma's hot schwuliadel? What? You even from Staten Island to begin with?
It sounds like the most Italian dessert I've ever heard of, but it's
yeah. They used to talk about The Sopranos all the time. I guess it's also called a lobster tail because nobody knows how to say schwuliadel. I don't know why it's such a hard word to say. Schwuliadel, schwuliadel, schwuliadel.
It's also fun to say.
It's very fun to say. So you got bear claw, lobster tail.
You know what? You're right.
So they're talking about breaking up with a guy and whatever, like can you break up with like a friend? And this reminded me of like some friends I used to have. Like I feel like I like know that type of guy. I've definitely had like 3 or 4 Joel Hornicks in my life, I feel like. So yeah, so I could see where they got this idea about like wanting to break up with like a friend. Do you think that that's a viable way to end a platonic relationship? It's weird that it's not. It should be.
It should be. It should be. I mean, but the other half of it is like, how did you get to this place in the first place that you have a platonic? It makes sense with a sexual relationship because there's the sex. There's definitely like, but it was earlier in life where I feel like you had friends that were mainly because of like circumstance and convenience.
Right. And that's what they ring on. Yeah, they say we were friends growing up. So that's a good little piece of writing there. That's a good little chunk.
It is. Yeah. Then there's a little stand up with Jerry talking about breaking up with guys.
Oh, right. It's a very direct pull from this actual scene. This was like a very like literal. Like usually they didn't tie it to the actual plot so much, but this was a real tie back, I feel like.
Yeah, and Jerry,
I remember thinking that.
Is like, sports and women is all that men talk about. And men don't really need anything in common to become friends. They just need another guy.
What'd you think of this bit?
It was all right. There's something to that. I feel like sports and women is what 99% of the conversation among straight guy friends is.
So they're at the diner, and Joel is being an asshole.
Yeah, he's being a real dick to the waitress.
Yeah. And we noticed his Chicago accent here. At least I noticed his Chicago accent. And I got to say, a little bit miscast, a little bit miscasting. Not a big deal. But
All right, I don't know why you think this guy's miscast. He's totally cast as the right character. He's funny.
Certainly an asshole. He looks like a brick. He's pretty sweaty. He looks like he's eating some Polish sausage once a morning, maybe twice a morning. And he looks like a big, fat, sweaty hag. But it don't mean I think it was good casting.
I thought he was actually like.
He was
a pretty good character.
Right, you're right.
Even though he had a Chicago accent.
I'm being an accent like asshole right now. An enlarged prostate. It's your big boy. It's your large model prostate.
It's your standard enlarged prostate there.
And it comes in your swollen and unswollen model. Let me go check in the back. See if I have any left. You ever go into a store and you go to like a Foot Locker or like some shit or like a grocery store or whatever, and like you ask for something you don't see out.
Yeah.
And the person's like, let me go see if I have any. Like, let me go see if I have any. I always thought that was like super presumptuous. Such a low wrong employee. Like, be like, let me see if I have any. Like, yeah, go check your personal stash of like fucking Hillshire Farms turkey slices. Damn, I'm always hungry during the show. We should just make this a food podcast.
All right, we're changing it up. No more Seinfeld.
I should do a version of the theme song where I go Sneakers in the ball for the Chicago segment. You should do a Jewish one also. Sneakers in the ball.
Sneakers in the ball.
Pool and pastrami start with the same letter. Is it a coincidence? You tell me. What? Are you gonna finish that?
Every time I hear something starting with a P, I get hungry.
Back in my day when you went to a gourmet restaurant, you get pickles as your very first item. Even before you sit down, you get a metal jar of pickles. Beautiful pickles. Green pickles, less green pickles, grayish pickles, and a bowl of coleslaw.
I'm so hungry.
You gotta have coleslaw, just like Auntie Miriam used to make in Brooklyn, in Crown Heights, back when Bedford-Stuyvesant was full of Italians. Oi! They used to sing on the street corners and rob the Jewish kids to buy pizza. Extended cut.
Yeah, most of this episode is just ridiculous, unrelated. It's off the rails.
Kind of like this Seinfeld episode. This is like the runt of season 1.
I enjoyed it.
I know. I'm curious to see your rating at the end. Actually, wait, don't tell me now.
All right.
Okay, so they're at the restaurant. Joel's acting like an asshole, and he's talking to those waitresses in a way that like you could never actually talk to. Like I know some people do, but you could never talk to like a staff person this way. It's like so without like it's not like she fucked up either. Like,
right.
If you're waiting for your food for a long time, like I could see getting like a little, we've all,
yeah.
I don't think you have.
I think what?
Like I was gonna say we've all been like a little impatient, like if you're waiting like a really long time to even like get a menu or like for your food, like be like, can we get like some menus over here? Like like I definitely cross that threshold. I tiptoe over the line into asshole sometimes. There used to be no line. I used to really lay one out back in my former life.
Back in your heyday, you were.
Yeah, my heyday. I could Yeah, you could say that. But
I mean, not to the extent that Joel Hornick was, though. Not like that. That was just you.
well, no, because that was
They
without
had to do
pause.
something to you, right? They had to do something to you first that
Right, to face my wrath.
still unjustly prompted you to do something, but they had to do
To
something.
retaliate. Yeah. I'm a counterpuncher, Tucker. I'm a counterpuncher. It's just the way that I operate, okay? And I'm not going to become more presidential no matter how long you wait. Yeah, but so yeah, he's like talking about the turkey being like, speaking of Hillshire Farms, actually, he's ordering turkey and he doesn't want it to be processed turkey. I think a lot of diners, in my experience, do roast a bird. Like if you order a turkey sandwich, you're getting sliced turkey off the bird. Would you concur with that?
I never order a turkey sandwich from a diner.
Really?
Really? You do?
Turkey? Oh, yeah. I've gotten some great turkey sandwiches at diners. Like a turkey club? Like white toast.
Are you telling me the turkey club is sliced from a real bird? It's not processed turkey? No way.
Oh, no, yes. No, it's sliced off a bird a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
If I knew it was going to be sliced off a bird, maybe I'd order it.
But even if it's not sliced off a bird, if you're getting white toast stacked with like a double decker with like iceberg lettuce, like a ton of iceberg lettuce and like a good beefsteak tomato.
Iceberg lettuce like it's a delicacy. Iceberg
hold on.
lettuce.
All right, you ready to have your mind changed? I'm going to say two words to you that are going to change your mind, and you're going to sit there being like, yeah, you're right. Ready? 2 words.
You know I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, so go ahead.
Right. Yes, no, exactly. Right. No, that's exactly why I know that you're going to concur. All right, 2 words are going to change your mind about iceberg lettuce. Wedge salad.
You haven't really changed my mind. I was aware of wedge salad.
No, I believe you. Because you're so honest and objective, I'll believe you that you don't like them that much. Although
they're good. I like them.
They're pretty fucking. I love a wedge salad. I mean,
so I like them, but I happen to believe that it's like the lowest form of lettuce. It's like the lowest class lettuce that there is.
See, I used to think that back when I was unenlightened. I used to think that. I did. There's a period from 2000 to 2007 that I thought the same way that you do right now about iceberg. But the real fact of the matter is that it doesn't get any trashier to me than romaine. Romaine is disgusting. Romaine tastes like spoiled lettuce. The freshest romaine off the farm, picked out of the ground, tastes like spoiled lettuce.
You're crazy. Romaine is the standard of lettuces.
Exactly.
It's
don't put romaine anywhere near me.
If you say lettuce and don't specify what type, you assume romaine.
Okay. I'll put here. I'm gonna change your mind again. Ready? This one's gonna actually change your mind. You ready?
Yes.
New York deli sandwich, right? A standard classic Kaiser roll, New York City bodega deli sandwich. Boar's head, cold cuts, whatever. The works.
Right. Yeah.
What type of lettuce do they put on that? That's shredded lettuce.
They often give you shredded iceberg.
Shredded iceberg. Have you ever gotten a New York deli sandwich that's had romaine on it? Because I have, and I'll tell you about it after you tell me whether you have or not.
I agree with you that iceberg's better on a sandwich.
I got a sandwich this past summer on 115th Street or something at a bodega, 110th Street, 112th Street maybe. And this motherfucker put just a piece of romaine lettuce on my sandwich. It was atrocious. I couldn't even finish it. I could not even finish it. It was disgusting. It was, the sandwich was not that good in general, but the romaine, it was, so,
It's funny, as you're saying this, it's now like occurring, like it's never even, the thought didn't occur to me in my head until now, but every yeah, I gotta agree with you on romaine on sandwiches. It's not appropriate. Every Christmas with my mom's side of the family, we at some point or another, I'll go out to either, well, growing up it was Oklahoma. Now it's Portland.
Oklahoma?
Yeah. Stillwater, Oklahoma. Throughout my stay there, we'd have lunches and often have just like sandwiches with like, we just like put a bunch of deli meats out and a bunch of like stuff to make sandwiches. Everybody makes their own sandwich. But there's always romaine lettuce.
Sure.
And
yep.
And yeah, now, I mean, as I'm like recalling all of these sandwiches,
dredging up these memories for you.
Yeah, over the years, over Christmas. Yeah, romaine is not that good on a sandwich.
No, it's not. It's not good at all. It tastes like spoiled lettuce. I'll go down in history as the person who brought down the reign of romaine. That was not an intentional rhyme, but I went with it.
I'm pretty sure that if we had any listeners for the first 3 episodes, we lost them.
You gain with romaine. I want to like keep a very close barometer on when Jerry begins to look
weird,
like a complete idiot. Like this episode, his jeans were really like weirdly tight. Like he was wearing these black jeans, and he, his shirt was like just starting to like blouse out. It was just like, it was just starting to like peek its way out. Its head to test the spring air, and it's like a weird denim shirt, but it wasn't like so blousy like his like shirts get later in like season 5.
I think the first season, like the clothing is still relatively normal-ish, and their hair's a little dry, but it's still not too weird looking.
And there's like a very like subtle fanny pack joke slipped in. I don't know what like the opinion on fanny packs was at this point in time.
Wait a second. Stop right there. You don't know what the opinion on fanny packs was at this time. There's no changing of opinions on fanny packs over any period of time. It's empirically a horrible. I want to murder the person who invented them. I don't even understand why. Why would they do this to humanity?
Edward Fanny. You would desecrate a name like that on this podcast. He was a great American. I could debate this with you and talk about the North Face ass packs that became popular in like the late 90s, but that's too much of a digression.
We can. I mean, I disagree with that fashion. I mean, I feel weird disagreeing with any fashion since I don't feel like I have much fashion, but I know what I don't like.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I feel like I don't hate fanny packs as much as I used to. Mm-hmm. I still don't. I wouldn't wear them. And actually, I would say I would start again, but then it would be like too ironic, And then it's
you did wear one at one point.
No, but maybe like my mom got me one when I was like 6 or something, and I like had one on for like a minute or two.
No 6-year-old is wearing a
10, 6, 24. What's the difference? And she handed me the phone, and it was the fanny pack salesman.
Sneakers in the pool.
Jerry tries to break up with Joel, but Joel is like a complete bitch and cries, and then Jerry takes it back, and for some reason invites him to the Knick game. Like I could see like taking it back, but then like I don't know.
Yeah, that's taking it a bit far. But have you ever had a guy cry have you ever broken up with a guy?
No, I don't think I ever. Probably wanted to.
Would you cry if I tried to break up with you?
I don't think I'd cry. I'd probably like, get angry or something. I'd probably like,
I can't imagine what. Like, I don't even know how that would go down either.
yeah, it'd be weird. Let's do it live on air for the drama. But I will say, I'll call bullshit on this. They do this whole big thing about like this Wednesday, next Wednesday, or whatever. Like that's like a little like motif for like 2 scenes or whatever. And Jerry's like, I got tickets to the Knicks game this Wednesday. He's saying it, and apparently the day that he said that is a Wednesday. Because Joel's just like, you mean tonight? And Jerry's like, no, next Wednesday. If it were this Wednesday, I would have said this Wednesday. I call bullshit on that. If it's Wednesday,
Agreed.
and you have something for next week,
you call it next Wednesday.
You call it next week.
Today.
Yeah, like next. You call it. You don't say this Wednesday when it's Wednesday as we speak, and you're talking about
right.
Next
You don't
Wednesday.
say that. However, you wouldn't say this Wednesday anyway. Like that, you would if it were Wednesday and the thing is next Wednesday, you would say next Wednesday. If you said this Wednesday, you would be like, what the hell are you talking about? This Wednesday. It is Wednesday.
This is the Wednesday.
Right. It doesn't make any sense to say this Wednesday if it is Wednesday.
Right. So call bullshit on that. But
so yeah, Joel has a bit of a point.
Right. Actually, no, Joel is correct. He doesn't just have a bit of a point. He has the complete point.
I wouldn't assume anything. I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? This Wednesday, it is Wednesday.
Right, exactly. So they're both idiots.
Both morons. This show sucks.
Fuck this show. So then they're in the bank, I guess, right? Which is like I like how season 1 just has, I guess they cut down on these like random location scenes. But
it's like shooting every scene from Jerry's apartment.
No, they did have like scenes like in different places or whatever. But the scenes always prior to that had like a purpose. But here they're just at the bank because that's what people do. They go to the bank.
Yeah,
so
and I totally was confused about where they were for the first 3/4 of the scene until it becomes very obvious.
See, again, this is you having trouble like identifying the location of what, not the location, but like what the place is. You like thought a bar with like a grand piano player and like white tablecloths and like music was like someone's apartment, and now you think what do you think the bank was?
Right, George is carrying a giant glass jar of change, and I figured that they were at somebody's apartment.
Right.
It occurred to me that it was probably a bank, but I was looking around the scene and it didn't look like a bank to me. That's the only thing. It was a real mom and pop bank then.
Yeah, well, they used to have mom and pop banks. Shout out to Chemical Bank, which was referenced in Seinfeld a few times. That used to be my literal mom's bank. Chemical Bank, free checking, motherfucker. Actually, I don't think they had a free checking program. So
Chemical, why would that be? Why did someone think that was a good name for
yeah.
Chemical?
Chemical Bank. Like literally it was like picked in like a random like noun selector. Like, right. Now Chemical Bank it is. Moland Creek.
It's Moulin Springs.
Moulin Springs. No, it's Moulin Creek.
No, it's Moulin Springs.
Pretty sure it was Moulin Creek.
No, it was Moulin Springs, I think.
How much you want to bet?
We'll see when we get there. I'll bet you a jar of change.
They're walking around the bank, and first of all, the big thing that stood out to me here was in this scene. This is the second time in this episode, and the first time had there no reason to be mentioned, really. Second time, egg salad is mentioned.
Yeah, and you know what? this time, so yeah, so he's right. He stays. he gets broken up with, and he stays to
Right.
eat
He said this egg salad, which, by the way, this might have been the funniest. This might have been the most I laughed in the episode was when Jerry's like, stayed and you ate or whatever. And he's just like, have you ever had their egg salad? And Jerry's like, it's unbelievable. He's like, it's unbelievable. Like this egg salad. It's unbelievable. Like
Someone says, get out of my life. And that doesn't affect your appetite.
Have you ever had their egg salad?
It is
It's
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
can you have egg salad? It's unbelievable. I mean, I've been hungry enough where I like and eaten egg salad and been like, this is fucking unbelievable. But like, I don't know that it was unbelievable.
Right. I've never had an unbelievable egg salad. It's always, I mean, it's been like,
I've had very good egg salads.
I would even just say good at best.
Well, maybe you've never, maybe you just never had an
that's true.
a very good egg salad.
I don't eat egg salad very often. But I also noticed, I ran this back to check, and they don't ever tell you where the...
Oh my God, I did the same thing.
Really?
I did the same thing. Yeah, rewinded it. Yeah, they don't say.
She calls him at work, he says, and says that they need to talk. And then all of a sudden he starts talking about being at the restaurant,
Right.
but he never says what restaurant.
Right, he goes, have you had their egg salad with no, like,
yeah.
you know, indication of what place it was.
And since this is based in New York and based off a lot of, you know, real places, I actually, and since I've never had...
That's why I rewinded it.
I was really interested.
Right. You thought it was like some hidden gem.
Yeah, I was like, where can I get this egg salad?
To me, and plus Jason Alexander saying that like, it's unbelievable, or however he says it is like so good. But it's weird that they're talking about egg salad so much. Like they ate such weird food. Like, I mean, is that just like another New York Jew thing? Like they're eating egg salad and chicken salad. And is that like, did we just eat like mayo based meats and like,
yes.
It's like, is that all we do? Is that, I feel like it is. I'm not mad at it, honestly. I mean, like a good mayo based meat salad, chopped up meat or fish with mayo.
Yeah. I had tuna salad earlier today.
It's a big one too. Tuna salad, egg salad. Egg salad is probably the most like feminine of like the salads or something. Like Jerry and George eating egg salad all the time because Jerry orders it in the scene right before this. It's just like indication that they're like kind of like wimps. Because like men order like roast beef sandwiches and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like chicken parm, 5 pounds of it straight to the vein.
No, that's a very good point. I think if I were on a date, I couldn't order an egg salad. There's no way, even if there was this place that had this amazing egg salad.
Knee buckling egg salad.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, so egg salad is very difficult to eat because it spills out of the sandwich. You have to have very soft bread to eat egg salad and not have it, to cup it.
Right. You want it to kind of stick to the bread.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good, Tucker.
That really sounded very condescending. Very good, Tucker. You're reading at a second grade level.
I feel like most people don't know that about egg salad. I just feel like it's just not a known thing. We're egg salad insiders. I mean, I don't know about you, but like my subscription to Egg Salad magazine is second to only to the New York Times. Egg Salad Monthly.
It's the
You never read it?
number 1 rated Jewish magazine.
Did you see the new recipe of Egg Salad Monthly? They use shallots instead of relish. But I use shallots in addition to relish. You gotta have a sticky, wet piece of bread. So George and this random side story, and then he gets to the bank, and they're not gonna do his pennies or whatever,
And they won't take his change, and they tell him they got to roll it himself.
right?
Did you ever roll quarters and
Maybe like 4 times, and then I quit.
yeah, same. When I was a small child, but large enough to collect a bunch of loose change. I tried to do that, and it was a nightmare. What a fucking nightmare.
Not worth it.
Roll. No, it's not worth it at all.
Not worth it.
So then there's a little stand-up bit. Jerry's like, you ever heard the expression laughing all the way to the bank? He's never seen anybody laugh all the way to the bank. It's not that great of a bit.
Yeah. Not a very good bit.
No. And then he's annoyed about the maze, like the rat maze that you have to go through of
right. It's a very this is the type of humor I feel like associate with Seinfeld. It's just like these observations that are like really like, oh yeah. Like it's not funny. It's just like, oh yeah, I guess that's true. Like, like which is exactly what this stand-up was.
Exactly.
But I did appreciate earlier in the episode how they referenced Lenny Bruce twice. It's kind of a random reference, but then we have the actual first appearance of Elaine, right? No, I'm sorry. Let's skip ahead. George is bagging up his quarters, putting them in rolls for whatever reason. And Jerry is apologizing to him about giving his ticket away to Hornick. He offers him $50, which like 6 episodes from now, Jason Alexander definitely would have taken that $50 because like when they do that movie episode, when they go to like the movie theater or whatever, like George is like squabbling over like $7, like so like 50,
right,
extrapolated for inflation, and then Sherry offers. He says, "Why don't you just go to the game and I'll stay home?" And George does like a little like knife in the stomach thing. That's really good. Like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's like a Japanese like samurai thing. There's a name for it.
Oh, what? No, what is it? I don't even know what it is.
Japanese samurai like kills himself. I guess if they're like dishonored or something, the thing they're supposed to do is kill themselves by like shoving a samurai sword into their own bellies and like doing something. I don't know. It's called like.
Oh, they do like a move.
Yeah, it's like seppuku or something like that.
With like a counterclockwise swirl.
Counterclockwise. Oh, it's also called harikiri.
Harikiri, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
And so this is the actual first appearance of Elaine Benez.
Not the actual first. I mean, the actual sort of. Yeah.
The chronologically first appearance, not in the order of when it aired,
from when they filmed it,
but in order of when they like wrote it or filmed it. Yeah. So they're talking about what do you want to do? Oh, let's go out to dinner. I'm not hungry. Well, we go to one of those coffee shops. They let you just sit there. And I think this was like at the start of coffee shop culture. Like I feel like the 90s was when coffee shop culture happened.
At least that was the first I was aware of it because that's when I started to become aware of things in general.
Something about Seattle. I don't know why
Where does Seattle come into this?
Seattle was very big in the 90s, and Seattle is where coffee comes from, apparently.
Is that where Mad About You was supposed to take place?
No, Mad About You takes place in New York. It's like on like Union Square.
Oh. Strike that from the record. Don't include this in the podcast. I sound like an idiot.
No, nobody cares. It's actually beneficial to you that you don't know about Mad About You. People will respect you more for that. Don't know it, never heard of it, never seen it.
Right. I'm maintaining that it was in Seattle.
Yeah, Mad About You took place in Seattle. I did earlier, a few months ago, think Charles in Charge took place in California, but apparently it took place. Guess where Charles in Charge took place?
Hold on. Let me think about this for a second.
Yeah. Take a wild guess. I don't think you'd ever guess.
Our days and our nights. Charles in Charge. Of our
wrongs and our rights. Oh, it's got to be Nebraska.
I can't figure it out. I'm going to say Chicago.
Jersey.
Jersey? What?
I don't think I ever saw them wearing a parka.
Northern Jersey? Southern Jersey?
I don't think I ever saw Buddy Lembeck in a parka.
If you're from Jersey, you got to wear a parka?
Well, I mean, Northeast gets shit for winters.
So maybe the southern Jersey?
Yeah, Southern Jersey, Cape May, tropical climate. Southern Jersey. The true north. You're like, hey, I'm going to the north. Where are you going? Paramus. The true king of the north. Earl of Hackensack. My liege. So we see Elaine. They're going to a coffee house, and Elaine has, she looks and feels a little different here. Her hair's like a little curlier or something, and then she finds out that Jerry is like making up these excuses, and he like wrote them down on this like legal pad.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. Write down your excuses on a legal. That's pretty great. I imagine in my head, I feel like Larry David actually did this in real life at some point.
Maybe. I
feel like it's
possible. And then Kramer busts in, and he's been talking about this pizza place that you make your own pizza, which Jerry shits on this idea.
Right.
In that one scene earlier. But Elaine likes it.
Elaine likes it.
I think it's a pretty good idea. It's actually they do it nowadays.
Where?
In some places where it's a more like Subway, where you like pick what goes on your pizza or whatever. Like,
you mean sandwich?
No, it's like an assembly line thing.
Oh, but they have that for pizza?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good idea, actually. I mean, it sounds fun. Like, it's a good like date thing. Like, kind of like it's a hybrid between like a cooking class and just getting something to eat. You
Totally.
Do something. I think it'd be a good idea.
Right. That would totally be like where they go on an episode of Blind Date.
Right. Which, despite all his foibles, Blind Date was not just a really good show, but they also picked good date places. Like a cooking class with a chef or whatever. That type of shit. So he's making up these excuses.
It's right. Yeah. Right before Joel, he explains to Elaine, Joel,
right.
He had no choice. And Elaine's like, I never made a man cry. And Joel walks in.
Right. Joel's happened to be hanging out with Kramer because, and now it makes sense, because Kramer and him were talking on the phone for a while the previous week. And so they went to the game, and they make Joel really seem like kind of like sleazy here a little bit. Like he's like, being very like, oh, well, will you introduce me to your nephew? And he like shakes her hand in like a weird way. He does that thing where he puts his hand out like, when somebody goes to shake your hand, like when I shake somebody's hand, I shake the hand. My hand is perpendicular to the ground. Okay. Gotta be perpendicular.
Yeah.
Very perpendicular.
Some people go palm down.
Right. Well, but be it palm down or palm up, it's like a weird flex to me. Like, and he does this palm up thing, and it's very close to his body. It's like a very like weird handshake. Like if I'm giving somebody like a pound, AKA slapping someone's hand, hello, which is like what we call a pound. I don't know what other people call it. But anyway, if I'm doing that, then you could do like an upward facing palm or like a slight, like an angled, like a 45-degree thing. But shaking someone's hand, when somebody gives me that upward facing palm,
you got to go perpendicular regardless of what you're doing. So it's the same.
No, you can do an angle. You can do an angle. That's an angle. That's like a normal pound angle. That's a 45-degree angle. The audience cannot see it right now, but we're both making pretend about to, then, Joel is like, he kind of seems like he's had like a beer and a half or something. He's like just being very like kind of like sleazy.
Yeah, he's being
and like
creep. Yeah.
He's like, it seems like he'd be like the type of guy to, in like the club and be like, where's my hug? You know, like he's like the where's my hug type of guy. You know that
Right.
guy.
He's the type of dude that when you're kicking game to somebody, he walks up and is like says something that makes you both feel so awkward.
Yeah, exactly. Well put.
It's he's the worst.
So, and then he invites them to the Nick game. He's like, let me take you out. And they say they have choir practice and what is it? European national anthem.
Next Thursday, Elaine's like, "Oh yeah, we have to go to the hospital to see if we're eligible to be organ donors or something."
Yeah.
So she's coming up with some great excuses.
Yeah, she's got some good ones.
And then he comes out with like his planner or something and starts like looking
Right.
at
I think it's the Nick schedule.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it's the season schedule.
He's like, well, there's 41 home games.
The Lakers, you gotta love Magic. Again, in his Chicago accent, Magic. And is that your episode there?
Yeah, that's your episode. Except that it ends with a little bit of stand up there.
What's the stand up?
I think he's just talking about that there's certain friends that you just have to accept as your friends, even though we were talking about this early in this episode.
Stand up was pretty lame this episode.
Yeah, not that good. And there was a lot of it. Well, it wasn't long, but there was 3 different stand ups that they interjected there.
So you liked it. All right, what was you say is like your favorite part of the episode, or biggest laugh?
I had a couple of good belly laughs on this episode.
Really? What part?
That might be an exaggeration. I don't know. I thought that the scene. I don't know. I thought it was a decent episode. I thought the scene in the coffee shop with Joel was not bad. I thought it was pretty good.
I'm going to Iran this summer.
What?
That was in that scene.
Oh, that's right. I should have pretended like I wasn't listening to what you were saying.
Right, well, you weren't.
I really related to the rolling because I had tried to do that a couple times as a child, trying to roll a bunch of change into those fucking paper things. It was so impossible.
So yeah, the Unbelievable Egg Salad was a high point for me.
He makes a good point about about her not picking up the check. He paid the check and she broke up with him. It's fucked up.
Right. Yeah. That's his mistake.
Have you ever broken up with a girl over a dinner? Have you picked up the check on that dinner or what?
Over a dinner specifically? I don't think a dinner, but if whatever situation it's whatever it was, I definitely picked up the check. Yeah. But I always pick up the check because I'm a gentleman. Just kidding. I'm not a gentleman. Just kidding. I'm neither, not, or am. Now it's time of the show where we rate the episode from 1 to 5 kiss hellos. 1 being bad, 5 being good. Tucker, what? I'm
going to give it 4 kiss hellos.
What? 4 kiss hellos? You give this episode 4 kiss hellos. Wow. Okay.
Really? It's not. What would you give it?
Well, I'm about to tell you, but just give me your synopsis first. Why you give it 4? Maybe you'll change my mind.
I mean, I think that there were funny bits. I thought it was just an overall entertaining episode. I thought that every scene had a good little laugh in every scene. I thought.
Okay, that's not a bad point. Good laugh in every scene. Little laugh, not big laugh, but. I'm going to give this episode 3.25 kiss hellos.
Okay.
Because it's still season 1 and I still love the pacing and the egg salad and the George with the knife thing, you know. But it had like a depressing quality to it. I don't know.
I thought that was the case for like the entire first season. I thought
but this one exemplifies it.
Slow, depressing quality to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a depressing quality to the whole season, but this one like exemplifies it. For some reason, like whenever I think about this episode, I think about it as like the Lost episode. I don't know why. Like it's like a weird. It just feels like a disconnect. You know, like the apartment episode, the last episode, episode 3. I thought that was like, that seemed like it was like a perfect rhythm of like laughing and character stuff, whatever. Like, you know, and like this episode just feels off to me. Now that this is like, there's 5 total episodes in season 1, kind of trying to like put every episode into like place. I think next episode is they're like investing in the stock market. Like Jerry goes away for a weekend with that girl Vanessa from Sagnit, Bennett Robbins, Oppenheim, and Taft. And you know, those weekends, they're relationship killers. They really are.
Or makers.
Killers or makers.
One of them. Nowadays, like what are people doing? Like people are just having like Zoom dating, and what are people doing these days?
I think Zoom dating is going on.
My brother was telling me he was about to go to Vermont with a chick that he'd never met before. This is the type of thing
that's happening right now.
This fucking pandemic is driving people to.
Why Vermont? Where was he going to go in Vermont?
No, she had a cabin there.
She had a cabin.
That's a scary, risky move to just go with a girl you've never met before to her cabin in Vermont. But he was like, you know what? Even if I don't like her, as long as the cabin's all right, he's like, it's better than.
Listen, it's always about the cabin to me.
It's always about the cabin.
I mean, my priorities in life are like, you know, cabins, relationship, employment, everything else, family, and then friends, and then everything else. Cabins are at the absolute peak of my priorities. And I'm not being sarcastic right now. I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic. I'm 100% not being sarcastic. Cabins are the most important thing to me in life.
I guess you have company. My brother, I think, is on the same page as you.
Yeah. Long live cabins. Okay. Well, this has been episode 4 of Sneakers in the Pool. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Bye.
I'm going to cut out that bye. It sounded creepy.
Yeah, please do. I was thinking of saying peace, and I was like, no.
Definitely not.
I'll go with bye.
Now I might keep it because we had a whole conversation about it.
Shit.
We'll see you next week.
Whoa, my father wears sneakers.